All right, guys, guess what? It's another episode of Behind the Visual with Mark Hansen, with me, your host, advertising and lifestyle photographer Mark Hansen, where I'm interviewing all those people responsible for the images and videos you see out in the world every day. And today, my guest is Kelly AuCoin from Billions. He is Dollar Bill on Billions. This dude is a really, really cool guy. We talk about all kinds of stuff. We talk about the first time he was on stage and did something and got a cool reaction from the crowd, which made him love acting. That was fifth grade. We talk about a commercial shoot he did for Guinness, where the wise words of the director were, just give me something resembling something. So that was good. We talk about the difference between theater and TV, acting for theater and acting for TV, how Billions shoots, one of the really cool scenes between him and Axe where they scream at each other, and how that whole thing came about, what it's like working with Paul Giamatti, his activism. Check him out on Cameo, where the money is going for his charity, which is Culture City, which is really cool. So we talk about that a little bit. We talk about what Isaac Hayes said about his wife to him. So you definitely want to check that part out. So it's a really fun interview. I think you guys are going to love this one, especially if you love Billions. It's a great one to check out. And let me know what you think. Watch it, then comment on it, listen to it. Thumbs up it, like it, share it, subscribe to it, all that kind of stuff. And let me know what you guys think about it. Are you on the East Coast or West Coast?
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. All right.
Yeah. Where are you?
I'm in Charlotte.
You're in Charlotte. Oh, okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I shoot up in that area some, but not lately.
Yeah. Your stuff's beautiful.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah. The COVID thing was actually good for me because I was shooting a totally different way more set up, fashion, kind of real hardcore, cheesy lifestyle. And interviewed this photo rep, and she's liked my stuff and saw something, and the next thing I know, I have completely changed the way I shoot. And I'm shooting the way I like to shoot now, as opposed to shooting the way I thought I needed to shoot.
Was that based on her influence?
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Yeah, it was her, and then a couple of art producers I know up in New York were like, I showed it to them the way I was going, and they loved it. So, and I'm happy with it. I like it better than when I was shooting, so it's been good.
That's great. A buddy of mine, a photographer, he was the set photographer on both The Americans when it was on, and has been for Billions too, a guy named Jeff Newman. Okay. I don't know if you know his work. But I always love seeing what, what people do for a living, which for him is the set photography. And he's amazing. Like, the stuff he captures is amazing. So I'm not diminishing that at all, but it was great when he and I started hanging out a little bit, and I finally started seeing some of his passion pictures, his photos. So it's like, Jesus fucking Christ. It's so good. I knew he was good. I knew he was great. But I hadn't seen the level of the depth of his imagination.
Right.
So
that's very cool. It's always been a job I thought would be a cool gig to have, is being an on-set photographer.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I forgot that, well, there was a period of time when I thought it was something that had gone the way of the dodo, not, I don't mean that the way it sounds, except that it was sort of extinct because everyone had productions thought, well, we don't need them now. That's an unnecessary expense. Everyone's got a cell phone. We can all end up pretty good cameras. We can all take great photos. It'll be just the same. And then it turned out, no, it's not. It's not just about pointing and clicking. I mean, that's great for Twitter and for live tweeting behind the scenes stuff, but there's no replacement, there's no comparison to someone who actually has an eye and actually
my favorite thing is when everybody
is an artist.
Oh yeah. It's a totally different thing. Like when people go, what kind of camera that's a great picture. What kind of camera do you have? Yeah. Like, give me your iPhone. I'll shoot the same damn thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you got the eye.
Somebody compared it to going to somebody's house and and you love the food, and you're like, God, this food's really great. What kind of oven do you have?
Well, yeah, I mean, I wonder what the equivalent would be like with acting. I know that, like, there are times when I remember someone saying that they thought Jimmy Connors was going to be not Jimmy Connors, no, John McEnroe was going to be a great actor because he was like, how could he not be? He's entertaining, he's engaging, he knows how to play to a crowd. And I was like, excuse me, but fuck you.
Yeah.
I am, I mean, I haven't seen the TV show now where he plays I think it's the inner voice of a teenage girl, and it's supposed to be really, really fucking funny and good.
I haven't heard of that.
But I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna put him in a dramatic role or even a comedic role, because comedy is not just about being a funny person; it's about recognizing timing and. Anyway,
yeah,
so
it's a totally different thing.
It's a totally different thing, right?
Yeah.
And just because you're a reality TV star doesn't mean you can be, president. So, but,
yeah, a lot of things.
Or a TV star. It is interesting to me that a lot of stand-up comedians turn out to be pretty good actors.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what that skill set is, even ones who had never acted before. But it must have something to do. Certainly, if they're simple and they can tell a joke, like Kevin James, he's great on his shows because he just sticks within his wheelhouse. Jerry Seinfeld, same thing, and he surrounded himself with brilliant comedic actors. But there must be something about what it takes to be up on stage delivering a joke because you're living it. It's almost like a one person show. Yeah. For an hour or however long your set is, but that's always intrigued me.
So good doing drama as well. So it's not just comedy. Yeah. A lot of them are really good dramatic. And I worked at a comedy store for a while in college during the summer.
Yeah.
They're fucked up people, comedians. And I think that's a big part of it. I think they're so screwed up and depressed half the time that they can really pull off those dramatic roles because they're just reaching down into what they feel normally on a daily basis.
Okay, that cracks me up. I'm going to tell Dan Soder you said that.
Yeah.
My castmate who plays Mafi on Billions.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan, how fucked up are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a number for you to call. Hop on this podcast, and I got a new friend who's going to call you fucked up on a podcast.
Yeah, tell him, give me a call. We'll talk about how fucked up he is and destroyed.
Well, I was just thinking in terms of to bolster your point about comedians being who haven't really been actors or trained in acting, comedians being sometimes great dramatic actors. Sarah Silverman, who you may have heard of, did an amazing turn in a movie called I Smile Back, which was written, maybe directed, but definitely written by Amy Koppelman, who
is the chick who did your 24-hour thing, or is that somebody else?
No, but Amy Koppelman is Brian Koppelman's wife, and Brian Koppelman is one of the two co-creators of Billions and showrunners of Billions.
Yeah, okay.
So that's kind of
sounds familiar.
Yeah, and she wrote this book, I Smile Back. It was turned into a movie, and brilliant movie, and Sarah Silverman did an amazing job. And it was comedic and harsh and brutal, but amazing. So yeah, I don't know what it is. And you were just saying Robin Williams.
Robin Williams, to me, when he first did a dramatic thing, I was like, holy hell, I cannot believe he can pull that off.
He sort of paved the way. And he had studied at Juilliard, he was.
Yeah, I heard that later.
He was trained as an actor. And then you've got guys like Adam Sandler. Punch Drunk Love was, I thought, fantastic and still was very quirky. But then what was the one he just did recently where he was a jewelry salesman?
Oh, yeah.
The guy with the gambling habit.
Yeah, I cannot remember. I have not seen it. I have it on my list, but I have not watched it.
Brilliant performance. Amazing movie. Brutally upsetting. Not a fun movie to watch, but it was but just really, really good.
What was that called?
I
heard it was like a lot of screaming and just pissed offness and
a lot of pissed offness, but it's really, really good. I mean, I can watch a lot of unpleasant stuff.
Uncut gems.
Yeah, I can watch a lot of unpleasant stuff if it's good art, just because that to me is exciting and exhilarating. But that's a harsh one.
I'm gonna have to check that one out. I mean, it's on my list. I've just got to make time because I don't think my wife will probably be into it. We were gonna watch it with everybody,
Yeah.
And I'd heard it was kind of harsh because I have two
Yeah.
daughters. They're both, well, almost, one's 18 this weekend and then the other's 20. And then my wife, a lot of times she's just like, I can't watch this.
Yeah. I mean, my wife isn't necessarily down for the relentless 2 hours of relentless awfulness.
Yeah.
I mean, she will, but she deals with a lot of that in real life. She tackles it in real life. So
what's your wife do?
Well, my wife is let's see, there's so many hyphens here. She is a dancer. She's an award-winning modern dancer. And she is a historical marine ecologist, and works with organizations on projects that deal with the intersection of urban and nature and the urban life, nature in urban life, and the coastal, the waterfronts in New York. It's so easy to forget we're on an island here, a series of islands. And she teaches science communication to scientists, helps them figure out how to communicate better with lay people.
So she does a little bit.
And she's an activist. So she does a lot of work with social justice, and so she does.
She's a little bit busy.
She's a little, she's infinitely more interesting than I am as a person. I keep telling people.
Oh yeah, I get it. My wife, she's this.
I thought you were about to say, "Oh yeah, I imagine," because this is not very
you are
interesting.
boring me to death at this point. Can we just? Is it over? God damn! How long?
I get that a lot. Yeah. I get that.
It's like we're what 10 minutes into it. I'm ready to just be done.
No, who is this guy?
My wife was given. We were at something, and a friend of mine, his wife was giving a speech because she does some kind of thing with kids, and my wife runs the outpatient treatment center for drug and alcohol abuse. And this dude works at the bank and just sits in front of a computer doing whatever. And I'm a photographer. And I looked at him and was like, our jobs are really completely useless compared to the two of these women right here. We do nothing for society at all in any kind of way.
We married up, as they say.
Yeah, I did for sure.
Yeah. Well,
absolutely. But tell me, what made you want to be an actor?
The girls. No, I don't know.
That's why I'm a photographer.
Yeah. I don't know exactly. I know that from the earliest years I can remember, I liked it and I wanted to do it. I didn't have I'm assuming you haven't stopped me before, so I'm assuming I can swear on this podcast.
You can say whatever you want, man.
I didn't develop the balls to tell anybody that I wanted to be an actor until I think it was my sophomore year of high school.
Really? Did you know before that? I mean, was it?
Oh yeah, I knew, but I didn't know anybody who was an actor. Yeah. It seemed like such a silly thing to, an almost unimaginable thing, literally unimaginable, because I couldn't imagine it. I didn't know what that life would look like. But I loved doing it, and I was lucky that even in junior high in small town, mountain town of Oregon, Sisters, Oregon, which at the time had a population of 700 and I believe 41.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah. It was.
Where's that in Oregon? Like what section of Oregon is it in?
It's in Central Oregon in the Cascade Mountains, and it's not far from Bend.
Okay.
And Bend is sort of the hub, especially now. Things have changed over the past. This was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was lucky that even there was a good program. They staged challenging plays, and in high school when we had moved to DC, again, challenging department, and I loved it. My dad was a politician; he was in Congress, and so I saw him in front of people. And I saw him speaking both extemporaneously, which sort of was, it's like improv in a way. And I saw him speaking in a scripted way that actually could elevate something off the page. So I saw him performing, and it wasn't a negative performative thing. It's just the inherent thing that you have to be able to do. If you are a representative or a senator or somebody and you want to get something done, you want to inspire people, you can't just say, and in my second term, I would like to, you have to sell your vision.
Yeah.
So I saw him doing that. I also saw him being comfortable with people. My mom was a singer. She didn't do it professionally, but she was a beautiful singer, and I saw her perform. My grandfather played mandolin
Oh,
And
look at the boot.
yeah, I know. Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
he was a rancher, and among other things. And so I just saw, I had family that was in front of people, and we were in the public eye. My sister, who was also a beautiful singer, we were in the public eye, and I got used to it. So there was no fear of it, and it was sort of thrilling. And I was the kind of annoying kid who, when my parents had parties, I pulled out my little knock knock joke book, and I stopped everybody, all 50 people. I was like, stop. What's an astronaut's favorite, favorite meal? And they'd be like, I don't know. And I'd be like, launch. and it would all be whatever. But I loved it. I'm sure they were the worst parties because of that brat kid, the AuCoin kid. But I had such a good time. So I think I wanted to do something like it for years, and I didn't know what it looked like. And I don't know. There was nothing else I thought there was nothing specific I wanted to do.
Right.
So that I had no other specific goals. I think I could have figured out something else. I'm not dumb. I could have figured out another path, but I'm really happy I had that delusion that I could make it, and that I wasn't going to shoot for a backup. I'm not saying it's the safest way to go, because a lot of stuff can go wrong, but I'm glad in my case that happened. It took a long time. I mean, my path to whatever you want to call success has been really, really slow, but I had the support of my family and support of my wife, and
if you had a plan B, you probably wouldn't have made it though to where you are.
It's possible. It's really possible. Now, this doesn't. I mean, because look, you can say I'm not going to have a plan B, and there are. Acting is a skill that can be taught, but I still think that if you don't have, I hope this doesn't sound weird, but I think if you don't have inherent talent, you can only go so far. And sometimes that talent is very specific, a very specific type of character actor that can do one thing and you get discovered and you make an entire career out of that. And that's great. But whatever it is. So but it's precarious, because I always want to tell people never give up on your dream. But if your dream is truly delusional, if you really are not, if what you love to do is not what you're actually good at, then it can lead you into a life of misery.
Oh yeah.
But paradoxically, if you're going to make it in the arts in general, except for those few that we hear so much about that make us feel terrible, who became famous at 20, but that's statistically insignificant number of people that happens to. But if you are going to make it, then you have to indulge that delusion. And you don't know, it might be a delusion. You have to embrace the delusion in order to get there. And it may ruin your life.
Yeah.
God, I sound like such a pessimist here.
True. I tell my assistants that all the time. I'm like, listen, if this is what you want to do, you can't have a B. Because if you have a plan B, probably 5 years into this, if you haven't made it, you're going to fall back on plan B. Or your parents are like, why don't you go and do the accounting job that you have your degree in, or whatever. Yeah.
And, it is, I think I was lucky. Success never meant fame for me. I'm still shocked when people recognize me. Some guy at the gym before the mask era, some guy at the gym, was 30 feet away from me. He was like, "You're such an asshole." And I was like, did I not wipe down the machine or what? And he was just like, no, dollar bill. He's such an asshole. Yeah. And I was like, oh God, wow. It still surprises me because I've lived in anonymity for so long, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it surprises me.
I wanted to ask you that.
But I was just going to say, so success for me meant just making a living, so that I didn't have. Once I got to the point where I did not have to have a survival job.
Yeah.
I had cheap rent, which was key. I didn't indulge. My wife and my wife in particular, is very frugal. She keeps my impulses stifled, but the overspending impulses. So our nut was low, and we just, we made do, and success for me was not having to do anything to make a living other than act. And sometimes that was commercials, sometimes that was industrials, sometimes that was trade shows, sometimes that was, sometimes it was a great play, sometimes it was a movie or TV show, but it was like any of that. I'll do it. I love it. I love all of it. I just love being on set or on stage and working and vibing with other actors. So I did not need the success that has started to come since my 40s.
Right.
But but it allowed me to stick it out till things caught up, when TV moved to New York about 10, 15 years ago. So those of us who came here to act in theater actually got a chance to do some interesting TV. Sorry.
Yeah.
Now I'll let you speak.
No, that's great. I love hearing all of that. So now I've got like multiple questions. Like, let's go with the first one. I was going to ask it later, but you brought it up. So if you had to choose between being the guy who's like the supporting actor, constantly working, making a nice living, but the thing where you only get it from like one dude in the gym every once in a while, or somebody walking down the street occasionally sees you and recognizes you, would you want that? Or would you prefer to have, you're the star of the blockbuster movie, you're making 20 million a pop, everybody knows who you are, every time you walk down the street or try and have dinner, somebody's asking you for your autograph and wanting to have their selfie made with you?
Yeah. It's funny. It's hard to compare those two. First of all, I have no idea what that second is really like.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with making $20 million a picture.
Oh,
Of course, I think about the place I'd live and helping my family and friends and doing the George Clooney, writing them all. I'd probably write them more like a $10,000 check, right, rather than a $1 million check, because Clooney's had a number of those $20 million movies. I guess the only way to answer that is because I also think about how much you give to charity and how much good you could do in the world and how fun action movies would be to do. So there's a lot of fun there. I guess my take would be that I don't need that.
Right.
What I want and what is my goal is to keep doing, and I still am. I feel lucky and honored that I've reached that point, is to be in that first category. I've been able to make a living. I've been able in the past 7 or 8 years, been able to do some really interesting things. A little notoriety is fun, although it's not necessary, and it's seems sort of silly at times, but it can also be fun. I mean, you have someone who tells you, about the Americans, how moved that whole thing was, how moved that whole thing was, how moved they were by that whole thing. Yeah. Or, it's, I'd say I feel very lucky and fortunate and honored to be in that first category.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, I don't think there are a ton of people who get to that point. I think there are a lot of people who want to, and try. Yeah. But I mean, I think you're doing a great job.
Thanks, man.
You're talking about doing commercials and stuff. What was the cheesiest commercial you ever did? What was the one where you thought, well, oh my God, I just going to pull this off and take
I've never had one where I'm just like, oh, this is so beneath me or anything like that.
Sorry about that.
I've never had. Oh, do you need to take that?
No, huh?
Okay.
If they're calling on my home phone, they don't know me.
Yeah.
So.
I've never worked on a commercial where I've felt that I'm better than it, better than the project. This is beneath me,
right, or
anything like that. I've worked on.
I'm thinking more like just one where you're just like, this is just goofy. Not just beneath you, but it's just goofy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's see. I don't think I have worked on something where I wanted to get up because of that. There have been unpleasant sets and unpleasant backstages, unpleasant processes because of the people involved. There is one that was and this was my fault. I didn't know it was one of these times when I could not figure out what I was doing wrong, and I was just wasting everybody's time. It was a Guinness commercial, and I was this. So I was this. In the middle of the night, I was this guy coming down, and I was hungry, so I was in my house, open up a fridge, and then I hear a noise, and I look over and it's Christmas coming up, and I look over at the fireplace, and Walt Frazier, the great basketball player, has come. He's coming out of my chimney out of the fireplace with a Santa suit and a bag, and he's like, "Hey," and he gives me a Guinness, or he's like showing Guinness or something like that. So when I auditioned, I literally did this. And the guy was like, "Give us a couple takes to the camera," and I literally just was like, that was it. And then I got hired, and so I was like, "Well, that's what they want." And then so I did that. I would in the fridge, and I just. And the guy was like, "All right, you got to give me something." And I was like, okay. And I tried to hone that thing. I was like, I must be doing too much or something. I'm not giving him that deadpan take right. And he got more and more frustrated with me because he actually said to me at one point, "Do something resembling something." And so then I started getting
great direction right there.
Oh my God. But it's also, I'm sure I was doing something that I could have done something to better connect with him or try to understand better what he was looking for. I don't think it was either of our finest moments. I don't remember the guy's name. It would be fun, actually. I would expect
that he would at least come over and go, "Give me something similar to," and show you like
yeah, even yeah. I mean, but I then I started getting too big and goofy, and I remember it was in someone's house. They rented a house for the shoot, and I could see the producers and the clients who are all sit. They call it Video Village. They've got all the monitors and the things in their directors' chairs. And I could see them all in there. And the director, I saw him just take off the headphones and just go. and then it was like, "Okay, thanks." And then we were done. And I was not surprised that the commercial never ran. It was cool talking to Walt Frazier. I'm a huge basketball fan, and that was cool. But yeah, it was. I should see if I could figure out who that director is, and then write to him and just be like, "Dude, do you want to do take two? Want to try that again?"
He probably would at this point.
He might, yeah. Or he'd be like, "Oh, you're that guy who ruined my career." Anyway, so that was a set I wanted to get off of right away, but that was for different reasons than your question.
I don't know if he was directing the way you said, he probably might not have a job anymore directing.
Right. And I remember these directions because they were the ones that embarrassed the hell out of me in the moment, humiliated me. So he probably tried for a lot longer. I like, give him the benefit of the doubt. There's a very good chance he was like, "Okay, we need a little more, or some expression or something." He probably did something. I don't remember any of that. And so in person, when I'm with family and friends and I tell the story, he's a monster.
Right.
but now that we're public, I should probably say, in case he's listening, I'm only remembering the bad things that could be exaggerated in my brain because I was so embarrassed.
Right. Well, let's just say if you're not exaggerating, if that did, I do better than that, and I'm just a photographer. I'll not give me what I want. I'll at least come over and go, "This is what I'm looking for," and show her exactly what I want. And sometimes it looks really stupid, and I'm happy when the model does what I showed her back because I look at it and go,
"Oh yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah, that was really bad."
So when you shoot people, do you work with non-models too? Because I know that when I've been in photo shoots more recently, from headshots I've done all my life, but then in other shoots, I feel I have such a hard time feeling comfortable. Do you have a different way of making people feel comfortable when they're not used to posing for the camera? I don't know. That was my version of a pose. Yeah, that's why I don't do photo shoots well. I don't know what that was.
Was it like Talladega Nights where he goes, "I don't know what to do with my hands"?
I don't know what to do with my hands. Well, that's one of the brilliant moments in cinema history.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
I try and tell them to stop trying to pose, stop
Yeah.
trying to model. I just want them to be natural and almost as if and it's tough to do, try and pretend there's not a camera pointed at you. But I try and tell them, it's like, you just pretend you are waiting on someone who's half an hour late and you're just fidgeting. Yeah, other than the facial expressions. And I'll actually tell them, I was like, I don't want you going, and
this
like
kind
that.
of thing. It's like,
Yeah. I had somebody, I was doing a test shoot for this small little agency many, many years ago. And there was some guy who wanted to be a model so bad. And he was doing these cheesy poses. And one of them, he literally had no watch. And he goes, all right, I don't. I was like, man, I think we're gonna not do that one again.
that is one of those classic poses that we all, when we're making fun of photo shoots, we all go like, or I think Steve Martin did it in the 70s, and it's like that.
There you go.
And like,
yeah, that's it. But at least if you do it, you should have a watch on, I think.
At least, yes.
Mean, it's bad even if you have a watch, but
at
least have a watch on if you're gonna do it that bad. But I just try to tell them, it's like, just fidget and don't think about it. And you can repeat the same thing over and over and over again, because you hand it in your pocket and you look around and you drop the hand out and you still just kind of turn your head, hands just kind of like you're waiting, like I said, you're waiting on somebody and you're just kind of antsy for them to get there. So you're just kind of moving around, and you can do the same thing over and over and over again, because we're only looking for one or two shots.
Yeah.
If you really like the shot of you with your thumb in your pocket looking off to the side, and you only do that one time, and the one time you do it, the photographer clicks it right as you're blinking and you look like you're high as hell.
Right.
Can't use that shot. So do it. I did it, dude. There was a guy in Palm Springs we shot, paying this guy, I think it's like $2,500 a day or something. So he was getting pretty decent money. He had 4 poses. He literally had put his hand in his pocket with his thumb out, took it out and let it kind of hang by his side, brought it up kind of like this, did like that, and then he went to the other side, did the same thing, hand in the pocket, hand out, hand here, and he just went from this side to this side, and that's all he did the entire time. But
how'd the photos turn out?
Perfect.
Great. And that's actually that's empowering to hear in a way for my next shoot. But I remember the one of the shoots that got that a lot of the shots were ruined because my mouth I was trying to be like, and I just ended up looking like pouty, angry guy. But the ones that did work, it was interesting. And he's a fantastic photographer. The quality of the shots was great. But he was like, move through things. Don't ever get static. Like if you want to touch your face and stuff, do that. That's fine. You can do all that, but just keep moving. And it's sort of the thing you're saying, fidget. Yeah. But then what I did wrong then was be like, that's where you fuck up the shot.
I think it helps too is if you go back and look at the pictures afterwards.
Yeah.
And then you look at, this is what I like. I like it when I make this face or when I'm in this pose, and I hate it when I'm doing this or doing that. I think if you go back and you really study those, then it gets to a point where, I've shot models who they've done it so many times and looked at themselves so often that they will tell me if I'm like, turn to the right over here. And they're like, can we go to the left? Because this is really my better side. And you'll stop.
I did from these photo shoots. Actually, I've been told what my better side is. I know it's actually good to know. I have one side that looks like my face at birth was kind of squished. One side. This side.
Is it that side?
Like, it's a little odd with my eye and that sort of thing. And this is a little, nothing about this is stellar, but at least this is more open and this is more squishy.
No, you're a handsome man.
Checks in the mail, my friend.
Yeah, all right. I tell my daughters that they go, I don't know, my eye looks a little small. It's like, everybody's got one. Everybody has a weak eye. Yeah. Don't worry about it, or a lazy eye, or whatever you want to call it. Everybody's got one.
That's interesting. Yeah.
What was
Do you subscribe to the idea of that symmetry is the foundation of beauty? Symmetry in the face.
I don't know. I think sometimes not symmetry having that is a little bit better, I think, because it's more interesting. And I think if you look at somebody who's very symmetrical, at first you're like, damn. But then you kind of go,
Yeah.
If they've got a little something off, I think it makes it a little more interesting. Like if their lip goes up a little bit or something on one side and then the other. Or now it's a little weird if you have one eyebrow that stays up here and the other one's right down. That's a little freaky.
And to all of you who are watching this and were just insulted by that, have the eyebrow thing. He doesn't mean it. No, I know. Yeah, I know what you mean too. Because I've never really subscribed to that. I've heard that it's like a classical idea. But when I was growing up, the sexiest woman, the sexiest movie star, as far as I was concerned, was Ellen Barkin. And she's got that great, when she smiles or gets like, she has a great sort of squishy look on her face.
Yeah.
And I know that doesn't sound sexy, and squishy is not exactly the right word, but there's something off center about her face that is so beautiful and sexy and all that. So
I can see that. But then again, I've never thought the Mona Lisa was like the greatest painting ever either. I never did the smile, and I was like, to me, it's just some chick with no eyebrows that's half-assed smiling.
And again, to all of you with no eyebrows, please do not take offense. I'm losing my eyebrows, actually. I used to
you can have them like tattooed in or something.
I know I'm not going to do that, but yeah, you totally can. But I saw a picture of myself from when I was in college, and I had dark eyebrows down to like here, and they're every 5 years I'm losing territory up there, losing yardage.
Do you have hair on your legs where your socks are? Or you bald, like have the bald ankles?
Oh yeah, I do. Damn. Yeah. That's what's happening. I'm just losing hair like it's going out of style.
A little bit up here too.
I'm losing a little up here. I'm thinning a little.
You're thinning out slightly right there.
Fuck you, good hair guy.
I don't know, man. We keep saying it's the milkman or the mailman that is my dad, and because my brother has. Everybody in my family has dark hair, and I have more. It's harder to tell here, but I have more red hair, and I have thick hair. And my brother's 3 years younger than me, and he's got a nice little bald spot back here. My dad does, and I tell my dad all the time. He says, "You need we go to the same doctor." He said, "Well, it's good that we go to the same doctor because they'll see what's coming up for you in your future." I'm like, "No, I'm the mailman's baby." It pisses him off, but he thinks my mother used to say that, or she said it one time as a joke. And I don't know if it really ticks him off or he thinks that I really believe that.
Oh, that's fine.
And he worries about it. I think my dad is really the mailman.
Well, that's a sweet thing for a dad to worry about. A little odd too, but strange, that's a little strange. I'm learning a lot about your family dynamic in this interview.
It's an interesting one. So what was your first role that you got excited about and you thought, this is going in the right direction?
I was Old King Cole in The Trial of Mother Goose in 5th grade.
So you knew right then, I'm going to be a star.
No, but I'll tell you what it was about that. I remember doing something off script. Like I think something happened that wasn't supposed to happen, and I reacted to it as me and the character, whatever. I reacted to it, and the audience laughed. And it was the first time I'd ever experienced an audience reacting to my improvisational reaction to something and my instinct. And I just was like, what just happened? That felt good. So that probably was the first moment of just like, I'm not going to call it flow, but the first moment where I didn't think, I reacted and it got a reaction and I was like, I want more of that. That ease, I think that was when I started to realize I'm really easy on stage. I'm comfortable on stage. First, oh God, I mean, it's so hard to say. When I got into the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, just being a part of that festival was thrilling. Was there for a couple seasons. And then the next year I got to play a lead role, Lysander in Midsummer Night's Dream. And that was exciting. My first professional play in Portland, Oregon was thrilling. I was like, I'm going to get paid to do this. No fucking way. And then I haven't chased after roles as much as I have projects or directors. And to be honest, what I've chased more than anything else is just if interesting scripts come across my desk or laptop, finding a way to be a part of it. So I'd say more projects excited me. My first Broadway show was Julius Caesar with Denzel Washington. And and it was a nice little role. I got to be a little weasel, like, like a yeah sort of to Denzel. And I think I actually irritated him in rehearsals, and I was sort of like, but I love you. But that was huge. I think of, not to be goofy, but I think of theaters, actual theaters, as sacred spaces. They're like my church. And so when we moved in, the first day when we moved in from the rehearsal room to the theater, the Belasco Theater here in New York, I just was like wandering around looking at the flies and the spaces and the ropes and all the stuff that was, from the 1800s or early 1900s. I can't remember when the Belasco was built. And called my manager and called my parents and called my wife and just was like, I can't believe I'm here. I will, no matter what happens for the rest of my career, I'll always be able to say I was on Broadway. So that kind of thing really, really excited me. And when I got my first series regular contract on a TV show, that was huge too. But
what show was that?
That was Billions. That was my first. I've been a heavy recur on a lot of shows, but I haven't had the contractual distinction of being a series regular until Billions.
Cool.
Yeah. So that kind of, that felt like a big moment. It wasn't quite that was like a moment as opposed to the sort of spiritual thing I was feeling on the Broadway stage. But
still both good feelings, I would think.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I do remember so I'm sort of strafing at an answer here, but the first times I was just offered gigs straight out, like big gigs, straight out at the theater piece and and a TV show where I didn't have to audition. I was like, those things felt good because they were, I guess that sort of speaks to what I've said before that I've always wanted to make a living as an actor. I want to be, that term, that guy. You don't know what his name is, but you remember him from stuff, or hers. There's so many women fall into that category as well, male or female actors. I want to be part of that group. I want to be one of that guys, one of those guys, guys. And so that's what, like, those moments where it indicates arrival in a certain way, or it indicates, I guess that's as good a way to put it as anything else. Those things are what excite me. And I have chased after certain plays. Arcadia by Tom Stoppard. When I read it, I was like, this is my favorite play ever. And I pushed to audition at every regional theater that was doing it that year. It was like the year after it had been on Broadway, and got in a place called Theater Virginia in Richmond, Virginia. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was a great theater, great space. And I got to do this role, Septimus Hodge, who was originated by Billy Crudup at Lincoln Center on Broadway. And it's a great role. So anyway, that kind of thing sometimes excites me. It's gigs, working. The act of working excites me. That's what I chase more than anything else.
We can tell. I mean, you're not just sitting there going, this. And I mean, you can get excited as you're talking about it. So you still get excited about it, which is great.
Totally.
Was there a big difference so did you do mostly stage theater stuff for a while? So when you first did a television or movie set, what was the transition like to that? Was it a big one, or was it just kind of just moved right into it?
It was big. It was different. I didn't, it took me a long time to get regular TV or screen work. And my first day with like a sizable, my first scene with a sizable role or sizable scene was a Law and Order episode. It was like my second one. And I was was too loud, and I was too. I mean, the woman, she was sitting. Angie Harmon was sitting 4 feet from me, and I was just like, well, yeah, I don't know, because I was trying to reach the back of the room. That's just like the instinct kicks in. And I knew better, but it wasn't natural yet. And so the director then I was rushing and I wasn't really breathing. And when I messed up a line, I was just like, oh. And he came up and he said the best thing he could possibly have said. And someone else said he thought that they thought he was being a dick. I don't actually. He said, "It's okay. We can shoot it as long as you want. We're a big time TV show. We have lots of money. Don't worry about it." Like essentially telling me, he recognized where I was and that I was getting in my own way because I was afraid of fucking up. And that led to me tightening and being too loud. It led me to not really think about, I was thinking too hard about what's the line, and I wasn't able to actually play ball with the actor. And once he said that, I calmed down and we ended up having a really nice scene. I had that on my reel for a long time, so I used to have to watch it a lot. I was like, that was good. That ended up being good, and it could have been a disaster. Theater was my base, is my base, and was for years. And it was only in my 40s when I started to do more TV than theater. I still am able to generally do, except for this whole pandemic thing you may have heard of.
A little rumor about it.
I've been able to do a play a year, which is great.
Well, that's cool.
It's still my first love, but I still feel like I'm learning, which is great. Yeah. I mean, I'm learning in both ways, but on both mediums. But it's fun to watch people and pick up. It's like, oh, right, I don't have to do that, or oh, I can do that. Of course I can. Why do I limit myself? So,
well, that's good.
Yeah.
As long as you still feel like you got stuff to learn, it's a good thing, a good place to be.
Always. Oh yeah.
How do you prepare for these roles? I mean, especially, is there a difference in preparing for theater and preparing for TV? How you prepare?
Totally. Because theater is all about the rehearsal and then putting it in front of an audience during previews and rehearsing during the day, and then opening and running for and going, you're let loose for the run. But it's all about rehearsal ahead of time. And packing in as much of that as you can. TV, you don't have that luxury. You don't really have rehearsal. You go through it once or twice, but it's as much for blocking and general tone, general idea of what's happening here, especially if you're shooting out a sequence, trying to remember where this comes, what level you should be at emotionally, if you're going to have to be really high in another scene that you're shooting in 5 days, but it's the very next scene. Or what came right before that you haven't shot yet, but comes chronologically before.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of thing. So it's a completely different way of approaching creating scenes and creating moments. And what I think that's part of the reason why it was more difficult for me for a long time, when you have these little one-offs where you're doing, even if you're doing a whole episode, it's still, 2 weeks. At the most, probably 10 days. But what's been nice about happened with the Americans, and even more so with Billions, is that once you've been on a set with a role for years, if it's like with the Americans I was on, maybe averaged like 4 episodes a year or something like that. Or Billions, where I'm on almost every week. You have created the backstory. You know who the person is. You don't have to come up with that from scratch like you do in the first week of a rehearsal of a play, or the first weeks. So you have that, and all it takes now is figuring out what the given set of circumstances of this episode, how that would impact this character that you've already created. We're 5 seasons in now. We know who we are. Right. We can still learn things about ourselves, but that's just about adding on to this creature that you've created. So it's a fundamentally different way of approaching stuff.
So when do you start shooting Billions again for the last half of season 5?
Well, we're hoping to
keep waiting.
Yeah, I know. I know, man. We're hoping to get back in the spring. That's what we're shooting for.
Okay.
So,
Did you shoot all of it in New York?
Yeah, we have. I'm sure they've done some scenes in Connecticut or Jersey,
right?
That kind of thing. But it's in New York. Yeah.
You guys have a big sound stage, or you renting out some?
We have a number of different sets. Back when Chuck was the U.S. attorney, he had space in a studio in Glendale, Queens. He actually shared the only other show that was shooting on that space was The Get Down. If you ever saw that show, The Get Down.
I heard of it, but I never saw it.
It's really good. I'm sorry that it didn't get a second season, but it was about the rise of hip hop in the 70s. And
yeah, I remember seeing it, but I didn't get a chance to watch it. I saw the preview for it or something.
Really good, and it was a very interesting juxtaposition with that show with all the kids from the 70s, and then this show with the Billions show. Anyway. So that was a set. Our set used to be up in Orangetown, New York, for the first 2 seasons, and now we are in a studio in Brooklyn. Right. But mainly they use all that. They love. They're foodies. Brian and David, the showrunners, are foodies, and they love to go around to different places in New York and different restaurants, and they're just interested in people and things, and so they love to put the characters in these fascinating places.
You end up in the restaurant they want to eat in.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, but they also just, I think they love New York, and if you're shooting in New York, why not take advantage of the backdrop of New York? Yeah, because you can't fake that. There's nothing worse than seeing an LA production that's like some backlot. It's like, this is New York, and it's like, no, that's the Friends set. Terrible. The Friends set, that street that in no way resembles any part of New York, and no one has apartments that big.
Yeah, the apartment's huge, isn't it? My God.
Even the one that they were like the lame one across the way, Chandler and Joey's play. It was like, that's an amazing apartment.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Fuck you for that. It's too small.
Every time I see the opening for the Andy Griffith show, I just look at it and go, that's not shot in the South. That's totally LA right there. That is California.
Well, MASH was not shot in Korea. That was shot in LA too, in those hills. Come on. But whatever. It's fine. Hopefully people will look past it.
I don't think most people notice.
No, but it is fun when a show a movie or TV show can really take advantage of the backdrop of the city that it's in.
Yeah.
Because the New York energy, the show is so much about that New York energy, that having it actually in the city, I think that actually gives us more energy. It gives the show more authenticity.
Oh, absolutely.
That gets exciting.
If they were trying to shoot that out in LA, it would be horrible.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't think it would have lasted 5-6 seasons.
Right. Although, if Showtime, if you're listening and you want to move to LA, I'm not saying I won't go. I'll go with you. I think if you think it's a good idea, I think it's a good idea.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. What do you guys drink? And you drink bourbon all the time. What are you actually drinking?
Bourbon? No, on set. It's usually like an iced tea of some sort. Yeah. I don't need decaf, but they have a decaf and a caffeinated sugar-free iced tea.
Iced tea. How many takes do you guys average, do you think?
It depends. It completely depends. But I think in general, I'd say if you can if you're into 5 takes, you're pushing it.
Are you using multi-cameras or are you just using?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's not a lot of time.
Right.
And so we're good at getting things in. I'd say 3 takes usually, but again, it depends on the scene. Depends on what the location is. Axe Cap is kind of difficult because we've got all these glass surfaces.
Oh yeah,
glass walls and a lot of reflection. Sometimes you have to worry about getting the crew in the reflection or the boom mic. And then you can also see everyone in the background. So if a background actor is slightly off or doing something distracting, then you have to retake it too. And not saying that they're doing anything wrong. We have a great group. And some of them have been with us for all 5 years. Wow. But we have a really, really good group of background artists.
Yeah, it's a cool show, man. My favorite scene, and you actually have it on your reel, is the one where you and Axe are fake fighting, screaming at each other. How many takes did that take?
That was bad. I mean, that was a good part of a day.
Yeah.
But partially because of they had tons of actors watching, so they had to get those reactions. They had to get all kinds of angles. And I've said this before, but one of the odd things about that was that I had lost my voice a couple days before.
Really?
And so when I was doing that scene, my voice was really, really, really croaky. And you can hear it when I'm walking in and I say something like, thank you, my children, in the background where they're all chanting Kaiser. You can hear it a bit. But it turned out that if I was yelling, my voice sounded more normal. And fortunately, the scene was all about yelling.
Right.
I can still tell that I feel like I'm a little monotone. I think I didn't have the melody that I could have created, but doesn't matter. I think the scene turned out well. But that freaked me out because that was the first big scene I got in that show. I mean, there was the face-off with Chuck 3 episodes earlier. And we shot a lot of stuff that was cut out of that final scene. So I'd had the experience of doing something really cool. But that was the first really, really fun, oh my God, we're going to get to do this? Oh, that's so funny. That's so... So I thought I've ruined it. I am. I told them my voice was bad. I lost my voice, but I didn't really impress upon them that I really meant I lost my voice.
Right.
And so I just showed up and freaked everybody out. They're like, wait, you lost your voice. I was like, well, I thought I said that. And you're like, yeah, sort of. A doctor was called on set, and I thought he was going to like inject me. And I was like, I'll take it. It's steroids. Just make me speak. And he just was like, yeah, try not to use your voice. It's really bad. I was like, wait, what? So that was useless. But the director and Karan Kusama, who is a brilliant, brilliant film director, directed that episode and directed the Ice Juice episode of Billions, which is both very much like a heist movie over the course of an hour. She's brilliant. And then Damien was really supportive. And we just played, again, I bring this up, I know it's a sports metaphor, but I played ball. It was just feeding off of each other and having fun. And it was hard to keep from laughing. But we had a blast. We spent, I'd say, half a day shooting it from all the different angles. And initially we were trying to find exactly the right tone, like how much are we winking at each other? How straight are we playing it? And and how long, when he first brings me in the room, does it take me to figure out what's happening? Stuff like that. But then once we figured those things out, it was just off to the races. And it was really cool. It was really, really fun. It was a steady cam and another cam. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was very cool.
That's great. I'm glad.
What's it like working with Paul Giamatti?
He's the worst. Fucking nightmare.
That's kind of what I figured. Yeah. It looks like it would be.
I've only done the one scene with him.
Every time I see him, Howard Stearn completely ruined it for him. For me, I love the dude. I think he's a great actor, but I think pig vomit every single time I see him, unfortunately.
He's a great, great actor. We have such good actors in this. I mean, Damien, Paul, Maggie Siff, David Costabile, Condola Rashad. I mean, all these, Toby Moore, Jeff DeMunn, who plays Chuck Sr. Just great, and Asia Dillon. Just great actors, and we're really, really lucky. Paul is one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Funny, really mischievous sense of humor. I saw your IG live with him that you had. Yeah, it was pretty cool. We talked for like an hour and 45 minutes just about whatever, and it was so much fun. We talked about spontaneous human combustion and what true north means, and then shows and stuff like that too. But it's just. I could talk to him over a whiskey or 2 or 3 for 12 hours straight. He's so much fun, and he's really smart, terrific actor, really versatile, sweet. I only have had done one scene with him, I was halfway through season 1.
Right.
And I'd love to do more, but it was great. He's very responsive as well. I'm such an acting nerd. If I'm in a scene with somebody, and especially if there's someone I really admire, and I just do something slightly different and they react to that, they change their reaction to that, what I did, I'm like, oh, I just had an effect on her performance. And then I step back and I'm like, yeah, we're acting, fucker. Just like, but I had 2 lines in a movie with Meryl Streep, and I remember sitting across the table from her, and she reacted in the first take to just something I did. I did something slightly different, and she reacted in a different way. And I was like, oh my God. And then again, I had to be like, right, that's what acting is. God, you're such a nerd.
I can get it. Meryl Streep for sure.
It is fun. Whoops. There we go.
Oh, yeah, I've done
I got so excited I kicked off my my cord.
Yeah, I've done that multiple times. This thing just ends up on the ground. I have time to pick it back up.
Yeah, I gotta get wireless headphones. Anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought he was, everything I've seen him in, I thought he was great. And then I saw your IG live with him. He looked like he'd lost some weight and grew his hair out.
Yeah, I think everyone who can has grown their hair out.
Yeah.
And he went the other way. We're all growing beards. He went the other way. And
yeah, I saw he shaved it off.
Clean shaven for it, yeah.
So I guess he's got to start preparing a month in advance. If you guys
that
big old thing back.
Interesting. I know. It's going to be interesting when we go back to do to have our fittings.
Yeah.
Because I certainly put on my COVID-19.
It's interesting if you binge a show, because I was watching my brother got me into watching Cobra Kai.
I love Cobra Kai.
I started watching that, and I noticed that season 1 to season 2. How many seasons are there? 2 or 3 now? 3? I
think 3 just dropped.
Okay, yeah. So I'm watching 3. I noticed from season 2 to season 3, all the kids have changed.
Yeah.
Like the guys have, they've obviously grown up a little bit since the last season. And you look at it and go, if you're watching this back to back, you're going, what the hell just happened here?
It's a little startling. And I did. I think no, I didn't. I watched the first one and then came to the second one. I'm really looking forward to the third. I'm trying to start a stealth advocacy campaign for me being on that show. I want to be a guest star on that show. I would love to be recurring. I don't care. I mean, those guys, they're so funny on Twitter. We've become Twitter friends, the 2 main guys in charge. And so that's fun to banter, but, and I don't want to push because I know that could be annoying, but I think in a stealth way, I'm going to be like, just like, I want to be around. Like, I feel like I'd be a good recurring character. And I think a villain.
Okay. That would be good.
Maybe against type. Maybe the anti-dollar bill.
Maybe. Either way, whatever. You got to go to Atlanta.
You're not convinced. You're no help.
I think you would be great. I'm just sitting here in my head. The problem is I'm sitting in my head trying to figure out, okay, what would the person be? How would they write you in? And so that's what's going through my head. I'm not a writer. Yeah. What the hell am I even thinking about that for?
Right. And they've already dropped season 3, so it'd have to be season 4. And so that's like, how long are we going to wait? And I assume they're going to stick around because it's insanely popular.
Yeah, I've made it through all but the last episode of season 3. So I've got that last one to watch. And you can tell it's going to go into a season 4.
I haven't even started season 3 yet.
Yeah, so my brother watched it all in one day. He just sat there and binged the whole thing. Like the weekend it dropped or whatever, him and his wife just sat there and watched the whole entire thing.
It's great to have something because I'm trying to work off the weight I've gained over the pandemic. One of the things I'm on the Stairmaster and I'm trying to watch stuff to keep me focused. I had never watched the Jordan Last Dance before.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
And it's so good. And there's a whole section where he beats my Trailblazers and gets offended because people say Clyde Drexler was on his level. And I'm just like, I remember that too. I remember the shrug when he destroyed us in game 1. So a lot of painful memories, but it's so interesting. It's so, because he's an interesting, whatever you think of him, he's an interesting person. He's a unique person. And so that's fascinating. And then all the characters but then just like, it's a microcosm of the game that I grew up with, So that's fun.
Yeah, I thought it was a great show. But yeah, I think you'd be good on Cobra Kai.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. I was
called
watching that day yesterday. They were filming something, and I looked at it, and there were trees turning colors in the background on this lake. And I was looking, I was like, that doesn't look like it's in California to me. And I found out they shoot a lot of it in Atlanta until they have to do like the exterior scenes, and then they go to LA and shoot whatever the exterior scenes are.
I love Atlanta. My the board of the charity I'm on has its board meetings down in Atlanta. We go there all the time. Yeah. So that's good. See, this is
it works. It's perfect.
Yeah, it just works. Exactly.
What charity is that?
It's called Culture City. It's an autism awareness and rights organization. We train staff at public arenas, public spaces, how to handle people who are having breakdowns or meltdowns and to recognize what's actually happening. Create safe spaces and sensory spaces for people, quiet spaces for people with sensory needs. Yeah. And kits like headphones and weighted pads and things to help the people handle something like a pyrotechnic show at a game or something, or the loud noises. So yeah, it's about helping people with sensory needs have access to these spaces.
That's very cool. Is that what your cameo is? The charity your cameo is?
Yeah, well, I was doing a lot of election stuff, and during the lead up to the election, and it's a lot of stuff for Georgia during the runoffs, lead up to the runoffs. But and that's what my cameos are for. And we also have started a legal fund now this year. Dominique Wilkins is on the board, and he and I started a legal fund for people with disabilities who are having their rights taken away. So,
wow, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Did you get that from your dad? Is that something like from a kid because your dad was congressman or whatever? Was that something?
What, activism or social justice?
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's from my mom and my dad. My mom was a huge activist, which is probably part of the reason the two of them found each other or were attracted to each other. But I think so. I mean, I grew up in a family. I've said this before, but I grew up in a family where the phrase "fighting the good fight" was bandied about all the time, and not ironically.
Right.
The good fight had a capital G and a capital F. It's like John Lewis, get into trouble, but make a good trouble.
Yeah.
So, yeah, probably, and particularly social justice issues. Voting rights is a passion of mine. Fighting voter suppression, and access for people across the board.
I think it's very cool. I mean, definitely need people like you out there doing it. It helps.
Thanks. Tell that to the Twitter people. They're like, stay in your lane, actor. It's like, I grew up with this shit. This is my lane. You get out of my lane.
Did you see the one where some girl said something about, she was on TikTok or something? I don't remember what it was, but she said something, or she was doing some kind of thing, and she had a Metallica t-shirt on. Mm-hmm. And she got so much shit for having a Metallica t-shirt on. They're like, you don't like Metallica. You don't even know anything about it. I bet you can't name 3 songs from Metallica. The chick's response was she pulled out her guitar, and it's like, you only got 3 songs? She immediately played 3 Metallica songs on her guitar, and was like, what else you got?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They're just giving people shit just because I figure and I tell my daughters, like, because they're completely unhappy with their life.
Yeah.
And they just got to talk shit about somebody else and try and bring them down somehow.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of that. Just like random aggression, but I got to look that up. That would have been a nice clapback.
Yeah. I cannot remember I saw it. Like, I think it was on Instagram or something. I'm sure.
Right.
I saw it someplace, or it just came across on some kind of feed. Okay. The episode 13 of the Dominant Ones we did with Dominique Wilkins.
Yeah.
Is that his house?
Oh, I had that is his house. Yes.
All right. That's a lot of cushions, a lot of pillows on that.
A lot of cushions. So we had shot.
God.
He had a different version of that interview where we were sitting inside the house on these tall stools with backs. I thought that went great, and I was physically comfortable. And then they reshot with a different format because they were doing some other interviews and Killer Mike and a bunch of other people. And and so I reshot, and I didn't feel particularly great about that. We'd flown really early in the morning. I was exhausted. I couldn't stay up on the cushions. I felt like I kept falling back. Yeah. And so I was, I still haven't looked at that interview yet, but that show got a second season.
Really?
The Dominant Ones. And he asked me to co-host. So we actually have shot 10 interviews. There's Zoom now, but we shot 10 interviews of the second season of The Dominant Ones.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was really fun. And I love that he asked me on to co-host with him. And it's been a nice, that plus the IG Lives has been a nice
it would be really nice
outlet for this time when I'm not doing anything creative,
It'd be really nice if you would link The Dominant Ones from your website, so I wouldn't have to Google that shit to try and find it.
It hasn't dropped yet.
Okay. All right. Because I was like, damn it, man. You're going to make me have to search it.
No, I will. I will definitely put it on my on the website.
Who's the dude in the background? There's some guy in the back outside while you guys are talking.
Right here?
No.
Right there?
On The Dominant Ones.
Oh, God. I don't know, man.
Some guy walking around in the back doing something outside.
I don't remember. I mean, it was his backyard, so maybe it was a crew guy, or maybe it was a gardener.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Could have been.
He has a big backyard.
Yeah, I saw that from the drone.
Maybe could have been a pool guy too.
Some chunky white dude.
That was me. Thank you. I'm right. I can hear you.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah. I was just be like, it was your fat ass there.
Yeah, that's right.
Who is the dude in the background, though, since you point to it in your picture?
Oh, that's my dad.
Oh, okay. Where is it? In the subway? I can't tell what the hell it is.
So being from Oregon, being a congressman from Oregon, he logged a lot more miles back and forth to the district and to between the district and us than, a Connecticut congressperson would.
Yeah.
But this was, someone snapped this when he was in the airport.
Oh,
and
wow.
I love this picture.
That's a cool shot.
Obviously late at night, obviously 70s. Look at those glasses and the width of that tie. But I love this. I love this picture. I mean, he worked his ass off, and I know it was really hard on my mom and him, the distance, but
how many years did he do it?
18, wow. 74 to 92.
Okay.
First district of Oregon. So it was like the river down to about Corvallis, and then from the coast into half of Portland. So it's the upper northwest corner.
Right. Okay. We have some land out there. We have a tree farm in Myrtle Point.
Oh, cool. So wow.
I don't get out there very often, but occasionally I get out there.
That's very cool.
I like Oregon.
Yeah, I'd love to have some property out there too. I miss it. But I do have, my aunt lives in, and one of my cousins lives in Central Oregon, not too far from where the mountains where we were. My parents live in Portland. My sister lives in Bozeman, outside of Bozeman, Montana. So there's a lot of west I can get to. My family's still there.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right, man. I'm gonna give you the last question.
Okay.
Same one I ask everybody. What is the strangest thing that's happened to you since I guess it could be in anything. Usually I say since you've been in the whole acting business, whatever. But strangest or most interesting thing that's happened to you?
I mean, for me, it's sort of mundane now because we're friends. But meeting Dominique Wilkins and becoming friends with Dominique Wilkins is when I stopped to think about it as it was happening. Was like, this guy was a hero of mine. This is like Magic, Bird, Drexler, Jordan. Like it's like one of those guys, one of the pantheon guys in the sport you're obsessed with. From a time when you were younger and particularly obsessed. That still blows my mind. Although now it's just sort of normal, which is cool too. And then now that I'm saying it, I'm like, wow, that's normal. That feels mundane. Now that's crazy. It's hard to say. I mean, just there was one when I was doing Caesar. On Broadway, the Denzel Washington Caesar. Yeah. You have an actor like Denzel Washington in a show, it's going to attract a lot of attention, obviously. And I remember at the after party, opening night after party, meeting Spike Lee, who was like, "Hey, Mr. Cocky," and meeting Samuel Jackson, who we had a long conversation just because he liked the character, liked the show.
Oh.
But the thing I guess I remember most was, so Isaac Hayes was there. And, Isaac Hayes is the ladies' man. And this was in the middle of when he was playing Chef, where it was all about taking the ladies down by the Yule log. But so we had a really nice little interaction. And my wife came up, and I introduced her to everybody, and everyone was great and nice. And she was just like, she was having a good time. And then she was like, "We're going to be over here." So she went. And then I was saying goodbye, and I was going to go with them. And Hayes stopped me and pointed at my wife as she was walking away. And he was like, and I was just like, so, like Mr. Sex was like, and I told her, and she was so not offended because he was very sweet. Yeah. And even to me, he wasn't being a dick or lascivious or anything. He wasn't like, but it was just such a surreal moment because it was such an Isaac Hayes persona thing to do, and he was doing it to me about my wife, and I was able to tell her, and she was like, he said about me, and it was like a weird sort of funny,
that's a trip,
strangely charming thing,
Yeah, that's very, I can see
these aren't particularly interesting stories, I'm sure, but yeah, it's just being on stage with Denzel Washington was one of the weird, I don't know, I'm just listing things that I thought were cool, but I haven't had, I've had moments of just like, I got to pinch myself because I have to remember when the inevitable troughs hit that these are good. There are good things that happen. There are interesting things that happen. And that there are things that 20 years ago, I might have never really thought were reasonable to hope for. So, and they're small, or they may mean something to me, but they don't necessarily translate that well. Like like that moment when I was doing, I'm not even answering your question now, I'm just talking about something else, but the moment when I was doing another play and I found out that morning I was going to be on Broadway, and I was about to make my first entrance, and I was backstage, and I just was like looking up at the ceiling and thinking that thing I just told you, it's like, I can always say no matter what, I will have been on Broadway. And that just joy, that feeling of joy and accomplishment and arrival,
that's huge.
It was huge. It wasn't weird or funny, but it was huge.
Good. I mean, the Isaac Hayes thing, the Dominique Wilkins. I mean, that. Oh, I did forget. What's your favorite wig?
Oh, well, I hate that fucking Pastor Tim wig. There was a period of time where I wore tons of wigs. I have to say, I really liked. Like, they did a brilliant job. And I loved that the final season when I got that haircut, when I had that one scene in the final season of The Americans, I liked it. But I loved the Hercules mulligan from Turn. I love that wig because it was sort of this flowing kind of thing. And it made me look much sexier than I actually am. So that was fun.
There you go. Sexy Kelly.
There you go.
Do you ever go with you and your wife? Do y'all ever make reservations and they ask for your names and they think it's going to be two chicks showing up and then it's you and your wife?
I often get, I thought you were a woman. Thought you were going to be a woman. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for rubbing that in.
Oh.
No, I have no problem with that. I think it's actually kind of funny. When I was young and I was in grade school, I did get punched by a girl from the 6th grade when I was in 4th grade because I had a girl's name.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Literally just hauled out and punched me. You have a girl's name. I'm not sure what the connection was.
What's she doing now? Nothing.
Married that woman.
Did you? No. Well, in the Bad News Bears, the badass guy, his name was Kelly.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Okay. All right.
The Bad News Bears, like the coolest kid, the one who could beat everybody's ass. I think his name was Kelly.
Sweet. I wish I'd known that growing up. I could have studied the guy's moves.
Yeah, exactly.
Scared some people off.
I used to have really long hair. Like,
me too. Really oh, really?
Yeah.
Mine was down to about here.
I said mine used to go down. I always tell people it was like mine goes down to where my bra strap would be if I wore a bra.
Sure.
And so I was hanging out. If I wore a bra, this as far as you know, I never did. But yeah, so I was hanging out.
No judgment if you do, brother. No judgment.
sometimes it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, there was like someone was like, "Excuse me, ma'am," and I look up and say, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." I'm like, my hair is like halfway down my ass. I get it. You're gonna think.
Right.
The best was when two dudes pulled up, and I had a friend of mine who was a singer, and he had really long hair, and we're in our car, and these two guys pull up, and you see them going like that as they're driving by us, and they go, "Oh," I'm like, yeah, sorry guys.
Well, you know what? They deserved that moment, given how fragile their masculinity is, that they had to wince. You know what?
Yes.
Screw those guys.
Right. Yes, I'm with you. Yeah, I tell my friends all the time. It's like they say something about I don't remember what there's some kind of thing about some gay dudes or something. I was like, man, I work with so many gay guys. It's just like a normal thing. It doesn't. I mean, like, don't you get hit on? I'm like, I get upset if I don't actually. I'm like, why don't you? Like, am I not good looking enough?
I don't understand why that's threatening to people, and I think that's the only reason why people feel that sort of discomfort is that they're threatened, and that just says more about them than anything else.
I don't know if it's something where they feel that they're not just comfortable enough in themselves, and they think that maybe they'll give in or something. They think that would be horrible. I don't know, because I've always been like, if a guy, I never had a problem with a guy hitting on me, and if they do, it's like my wife or my girlfriend, whatever it was at the time.
But like, wouldn't you do that with anybody who hit on you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So it's like, to me, it's I think it does say much more about the person who is threatened, either by what they don't understand. They're frightened of what they don't understand. They're frightened of somebody who thinks differently than them, or feels differently, or lives differently than them. Or they're frightened that maybe I mean, this happens a lot. They're frightened that that maybe they are that, and right. that they can't wrap their brain around that. Yeah. And so they lash out. I mean, how many representatives have we seen who are highly conservative and have particularly anti-gay agendas, policies that they push, who end up being closeted gay people?
Oh yeah.
And it's like, just be who you are. Stop judging people for what they are. Just don't. Why do you give a fuck?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so that kills me.
I'm with you. My stepmother used to have her best friend she was a golf pro, golf teacher, definite lesbian. My stepmother would not see it. Did not see it, but this chick went to a church that preached anti-gay constantly. And I was like, why do you go to that church? I never understood that. But
yeah, and it's hard.
Has to deal with it their own, I guess
right.
It has a lot to do with how you grew up and your parents.
Yeah, and I think it's also something that the best we can do if we want to be allies is listen and not think we know better, or that not think we know what the answer is. It is to try to learn. And listen and be open. Anyway,
I'm with you.
Yeah,
thanks, man, dude. This is killer. I enjoyed it. I had a great time.
I did too. Yeah, it's great to meet you.
Yeah, nice meeting you. And who the hell knows? Maybe when things open up and I'm in New York, stop by and grab lunch, or take a picture or something.
Sounds great.
Maybe I'll compete with the other dude who's taking your picture, and we'll see who's better.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. And you could be like, stop doing that weird thing with your mouth.
Yeah, stop going.
Or actually, even better, just say, do something resembling
That's
something.
What I'll tell you. I'll tell you, do something resembling something.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, dude, thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
Talk to you later. See ya.
Have a good one. Bye.